Welcome into Jets Nation Radio. I'm your host, Angus Hout, going at it solo this week because Sam Brownell, well, he is sick with that same illness that is just going around, taking everyone else down. So get better there, Sam. So I'm going to go at it alone. So hopefully you stick around for hopefully you stick around. Before we get rolling here, do give Jets Nation a follow on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube, and wherever else you find us on the internet. Go check out jetsnation.ca. Greatly appreciate all of that. And tell your friends about Jets Nation. You'd be real cool. So the Jets coming off a massive 4-3 victory over the Carolina Hurricanes. Crazy 5 minutes. It last 5 minutes in the third. I mean, so what happens here is the Jets are up 3-0. Fantastic. If you went to bed early, you're like, yeah, the Jets are going to win. Easy breezy, not a problem. Well, you missed out on some incredibly nerve-wracking hockey. So 5:40 left, and Rod Brind'Amour pulls his goaltender, and it's just like his young goaltender for like the first time ever has allowed 3 goals. Absolutely devastating, right? So you pull him, and the Canes come in real quick. They score, and it's a perfect shot. And you're like, oh, dang it, whatever. And it's like, well, that's kind of sad for David Rittich. He doesn't get to do his thing. He doesn't get to pull off a sick victory. He doesn't get the shootout or shutout, whatever. Life goes on. And then they score the second one. And you're like, yo, Rick Bowness, you want to not shorten your bench up there, pal? I'd greatly appreciate it if you maybe played your third or fourth lines, because your fourth line looked pretty good. No, we're just going to roll it back. It's like Randy Carlyle with the Leafs back in, what was that, 2012, 2013, when they absolutely blew it in game 7. That's what it felt like. It was like, oh, please don't do this again. We don't need to watch Dion Phaneuf mess this up. Obviously, you know, it's so like, and it wasn't even like the Jets' fault. It's not like they just stopped trying. It's like the defense just couldn't connect on that last pass, and they just couldn't get it out all the way. And then Kyle Connor goes for a shot, and it's a weak little whatever shot. Can't put it in the back of the net, and then Carolina goes off and scores another perfect goal. Like, you would love for David Rittich to have these back. Absolutely you would. But you can't. And you feel for David Rittich because, like, all of a sudden he goes from having he has a perfect night otherwise, and now he's got a sub 800 save percentage. I mean, the guy's still 3-1, and we can easily argue that besides the 16 minutes in that Vegas game early in the season that he played in, where he allowed 4 goals early, like that, if you ignore those 16 minutes, David Rittich has had a great season. He really has. Like, he's just been in a product of bad team management in front of him for like just a blink of time. So Jets end up pulling off the victory, and Josh Morrissey, my goodness, if that guy isn't in the top 3 for Norris voting, I'm calling shenanigans on the NHL. I mean, but who's really been better? Erik Karlsson. Yeah, we can say that easily. I won't deny Erik Karlsson. He's already won. This is like, I feel like this is a blip for him. Like, it's his last big hurrah. If he gets a second season, great. But I don't think anyone's going to trade for him. Not for that much money. If he has a second year where he's fantastic, yeah, someone eats that up. But you have to have 2 full seasons before someone's going to eat up that contract. And poor Bill Guerin out in San Jose trying to deal with that contract in the last regime. Either way, so yeah, Jets pull off a big victory. Josh Morrissey's looking fantastic. 18 points in 17 games. Like, the guy's been consistent. Last night, beautiful. Like, the first goal that he got was a beautiful pass from Blake Wheeler, and I thought that was offside when I saw that in live action the first. I was like, are you kidding me? What a beautiful goal, and we don't get to keep it. We got to keep it. Great news. I love it. And the second one where he gets set up from Dubois, like, what an intelligent play. Like, his hockey IQ is unbelievable. unbelievably high. Like he sneaks behind the Carolina defenders, finds the gap, and like goes for it. And like basically identical goals, like both those kind of half shooters or half slaps. Mint. But yeah, no, if Josh Morrissey was in a bigger market, he'd probably win Vezina. Because like some schmuck from Boston's gonna be like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna be voting for this Josh Morrissey guy. I can't do a good Boston accent. Baston. They're gonna give a vote to Jake DeBrusk. Jake DeBrusk. We could have had him instead of no. Could we have had him? Never mind. Don't worry about it. I'm wandering with my thoughts. Either way, Josh Morrissey has to be a top 3 Norris candidate this year. And I mean, one of my favorite things I've heard Rick Bowness say all season long, which he just came out and said yesterday, basically like he and Josh Morrissey talked over the summer and he's like, you got the green light to go. We've heard that before 100 times from Bowness. And when you hear Bowness say, I expect you to be a top 10 Norris candidate vote player, and Josh Morrissey has taken that with pride, oh, that warms my heart. Like that's a coach that believes in his boy. And like obviously Bowness had no connection to the team prior to this but like to Jeff's point 2.0, he had no connection to this team. He just knew is like Josh Morrissey is a good defenseman. That's what he had in his notes. Well, let's be honest. He was the Jets' best defenseman. Still is. So Josh Morrissey getting the green light going and having that vote of confidence from his coach, like that kind of stuff makes me think that Rick Bowness is an absolute genius. And he's just found like all the knobs and buttons to press. And then he's also a complete bonehead. Like, what are you doing with Ville Heinola? Ville looked pretty good last night. I really enjoyed Ville Heinola. There's like, you could see the nerves. And like he was playing, like there's that shift where he had all 5 young guys on the ice at once. It's like, whoa, that's cool. Whereas like the fourth line with Amisimov, I know I'm not Amisimont, Gusto and Harkins with Samberg and Ville all on the ice at the same time. I was like, I'd like to see more of this because this is going to be our future. I like that lineup. That was a fun line to watch. So can we see more of that? But Ville not getting any power play time blows my mind. The Jets power or penalty kill, fantastic, but the power play has been so awful. Why are you not putting the guy that is good at that? Why are you not putting him on the ice? What are you thinking, Rick? Please tell me, why are you not putting young Ville on power play 2? Makes no sense. Make it make sense to me. Can anyone explain it to me? Because I don't get it. Like Ville has excelled at the power play with the Manitoba Moose. Get him out there for a little bit of time, and then maybe you can score on the power play. Could you imagine if the Jets had like an extra 4 or 5 goals on the power play? Like we would, well, I guess we would still be behind Colorado with our goal differential, but we'd be that much closer to where Colorado's at. I don't know. There needs to be the power play needs to be better. Just simply put, you can't succeed with I think the power play is at 18% at this point. Like it's not doing well. There's been games where it's been successful and you get, the majority of your goals are from the power play. But can we get a consistent power play going where it's like, we get maybe 1 goal every game, every other game? I'd be cool with every other game at this point. Like, it was cool when they did it against Seattle where Pierre-Luc Dubois was being an absolute nuisance, but they still went 2 for 7 on that. They didn't do anything with Pittsburgh, which actually wasn't that bad of a game for the Jets. Like that could have easily been the Jets game. Whatever. They do need to figure out how to lock games down and play against teams that have locked it down a lot better. Like once Calgary locked it down, the Jets were done. And once Pittsburgh locked it down, the Jets were done. But I mean, the Jets easily could have won that game. Like that's the thing is when the Jets lose, it's not like it's like a horrendous loss like when Paul Maurice was around. When the Jets lose, you can see there's still some effort from this team. And again, Rick Bowness is a genius for pushing all the right bells and buttons with these boys, but that sounds weird, but whatever. He's just like, yeah, there's just like things where it's like the team's still lacking, he's still not willing to try anything, or shortens his bench foolishly with 5 minutes left. Arrogance. But hey, at least we still have a decor, right? RIP Toronto, who's got to be knocking on the door for trades. And people have been asking, well, what are the Jets going to do? Are they going to make a trade? And there's some of me that's like, they really should make a trade. But with who and why? Because like the real question is, why would the Jets make a trade right now? They are 11-4-1, 11-5-1. They've won 11 games so far. So they're doing all right. They're doing pretty damn all right. They're in a playoff spot going into American Thanksgiving. Like, you don't have to worry about this team. So I wouldn't make a trade unless they start really blowing it. I'm sure Toronto is just like, we will literally give you Mitch Marner for like a second round pick. Like they're so, well, they need a defenseman. So they'd probably be like, we'll take Ville Heinola. Like when you have Mark Giordano and Justin Hull on your top line pairing, on your top pairing in Toronto, RIP. Like it's done. Like they still might be in a playoff position, but yeah, Toronto's Dunsville. So, I mean, like maybe an Alex Kerfoot is someone you can get from the Toronto Maple Leafs. I know some people are just uber horny about getting Kane back, Patty Kane. It was like, or Taves, sorry, not Kane. Getting Taves up here. It's like, how are you going to clear $10 million of cap space? How are you going to do that? You tell me exactly how you're going to clear $10 million of cap space. And even if Chicago retains, where are you going to find the extra $4 million? Are you trading Neil Pionk? Are you trading Nate Schmidt? I'm not trading those guys. Definitely not trading DeMello. DeMello is the defensive defenseman we need. When it comes down to it all, DeMello's like one of those guys you don't realize you need, but he's solid. He is a solid player for the Jets, and he's been good for a lot of the young guys. Capobianco, well, what's his trade value? A couple of pennies? A couple of frozen bucks? At least they're pre-frozen for you. Oh, and don't worry, it's just orange juice I'm drinking. I'm a little bit sick. I'm trying to make my throat not hurt as much. So no, I wouldn't be making any trades. Like, what? Morgan Barron's got to be back in 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, you can try him on the top. You can try him in the top 6. Appleton's probably another month away, maybe 5 weeks. Let's say 5 weeks. So do you really want to be bringing somebody in for really just 5 weeks of not making it, of like just preparing yourself? I don't think so. I do know that the Jets will have about $5.7 million in cap space when we get to the trade deadline. So the Jets will have like a good thing, like a good amount of money to spend at that time. But right now, the Jets only have about $1.5 million, $1.6 million in extra cap space. So like as the season goes on, the salary grows. It's weird. I don't fully understand it. And I like, if somebody could explain it to me in layman's terms, how this whole thing works, I would love it. But I can understand if you can't understand it because, well, I'm not a lawyer. I don't think any of you are lawyers. If you are a lawyer, call me up. I would like to put you on retainer, but I don't have the money for it. So you're going to have to find somebody to make sure that the retainer money is getting to you. But either way, it's so as the season goes on, the salary cap grows for the Jets. And if the Jets can trade I don't know, you trade one of your rookies and you trade somebody that's worth, $1 million. So then you've got $6.5 million for trade time, and you could probably throw your first in. And I think the Jets are going to be in a good spot that they could probably trade their first this year. I don't know what this draft looks like. I don't know if it's a deep draft. I don't really know. I know Connor Bedard. That's all I know about this draft. So excuse me if I'm a little bit ignorant, but I'd be trading my first and probably my second because, like, you want to get somebody that's legitimate in who they are going into the playoffs. And the Jets do need some depth on their forward end, but they need like talented depth, if that makes sense. So I don't know who you're going to get out of anywhere. I mean, Timo Meier is somebody that I'm like, ooh, you can get that guy out of San Jose, please. Is it Bo Horvat? That's one of the not Bo Horvat. I'm blanking on the guy because like Daily Faceoff has a full article on players that can move, but it's just like there's just nobody that I could see being a good right winger for the Jets. And as somebody had said, why not Jack Roslovic? Well, apparently Jack Roslovic has a trash attitude and just hasn't been good for the Blue Jackets. And he was kind of pissy when he left Winnipeg. So whatever, I guess he can kick rocks. But yeah, Bo Horvat, he's like number one on the trade target list from Saravalli this week. So go check that out, dailyfaceoff.com. Would I take Bo Horvat? I mean, 15 goals, 6 assists for 21 points for $5.5 million. Ooh. Do you just send Nate Schmidt back to Vancouver? No, you don't send Nate Schmidt back to Vancouver. It'd be awesome if you could. Like, I like Nate Schmidt, but I don't think the Nate Schmidt experience is going to go well in Vancouver again. It's probably going to go real bad for him, and I'd feel bad for good old Nate Schmidt because he's a nice guy with a big smile. And I mean, you need guys like that in your locker room. I was listening to I think it was Rashad with the Oilers on TSN. He was just kind of like, yeah, the Oilers don't have a rah guy, where the Jets do have a rah guy. They've got a couple of rah guys that can be silly in the moment, kind of make a fool of themselves. And like Nate Schmidt is that guy for the Jets right now. So, it's just like, as odd as that is to be like, well, keep him around for that price, for that paycheck. Yeah, keep that guy around. You kind of need a guy like Nate Schmidt, Mr. Smiles. I like Nate Schmidt. So I just struggle with trading any of the veterans. Like, they're so integral to this team. And unless you're like, I would just be, I don't know. It's hard because like you need a great defense core to win a Stanley Cup. I think your defense core is way more important to you than your talent. And if Nick Ehlers is 100% all the way from March till the end of the season, whenever that is, cool. But yeah, the Jets basically, they need to go 500 over the next 70 days. The Jets have basically 30 games in that timeline. So basically we're playing every other night with a couple of back-to-backs sprinkled in there as well. So it's going to be a marathon. If the Jets can go 500 in this time, they'll be a playoff team. But they, at bare minimum, they have to go 500. If they can go 55, go 550, great. So, but yeah, no, I'm not making a trade. As of right now, I do not make a trade for anyone unless the Jets start losing severely. And like, what would I define as a severe losing streak where you need to make a trade? I would say 4 straight games of losses. And like bad losses, like we're talking Maurice losses, not what we've seen for losses with Bowness, where the Jets have stayed in it pretty much every time they've lost. Like, they stayed in it with Pittsburgh. As much as they didn't stay with it in Vegas, they stuck with it. They still took it to overtime, right? I'm trying to think back on all the losses because there hasn't been many. That Calgary loss, the Jets probably could have won that game too. A couple of posts. So I just don't see why you need to make a trade. Like, I know I panicked at first when we were down to Sam Gagner there, and Sam Gagner's looked fine. But Sam Gagner looks a little bit slow, and he's playing top 6 minutes without getting top 6 numbers. Like, he's tied for 8th in points totals for the Jets so far. No, he's got to be lower than that. Maybe he's only got 8 points. I think that's what it is. I'd have to double look. I'm going to double look. But it's just like he's had good looks. And I like Sam Gagner. Like, don't get me wrong. I say it every podcast. I like Sam Gagner. Sam Gagner is a good dude. But I don't see him being a top 6 guy like long term. Like, he's got the talent for it. He's got the hands for it. Why can't he get the goals? Why can't he get the assists that we really should be seeing out of a quote unquote now top 6 guy? Yeah, 6 points in 17 games for Gagner. If he was up to 8 points, I'd be okay with it. But he's not double digits. And I get that he's only played the last 3 games on the top line. And he's still getting used to it. But I don't know. Maybe I got to give him more than 3 games on the top line. I guess 3.5 games, because he had his little moments when Appleton kind of looked like he needed a little bit of a break from the top line and just get comfortable again on the third line. So he'd have 2 or 3 shifts there. So I don't know. Like, Sam Gagner is just such a big, weird question mark. Like, he's such a good asset that you would trade him in a heartbeat when it gets down to the end of the season. But also, you would love to have him on your team going into the playoffs. Like, a guy that can play power play, penalty kill, 5-on-5, up and down the lineup. At this point, you could probably make him a defender too. It wouldn't shock me if he was half decent at that. Sam Gagner, yeah. It's like, what do you do with Sam Gagner? He's such a good, like, he's not great at anything, but he's just such a jack of all trades. And you don't find guys like that all the time. Actually, speaking of guys you don't find all the time, Dustin Byfuglien, which leads me back to Breden Dillon, who was compared to Dustin Byfuglien earlier this week. Somebody was talking to Wheeler, and they're like, yeah, he's like Dustin. He is like Dustin Byfuglien. He's a smaller guy, doesn't skate nearly as well, but like, he's out there, he's hammering pucks, he's hammering guys. He's just a big voice. I love Breden Dillon. Like, probably he's become one of my favorite players this year. Like, you know how every year you kind of find somebody, you're like, oh, I've kind of grown attached to them in a weird way. Not like I'm attracted to Breden Dillon. I'm just like, oh yeah, like, I'm excited when I see him on the ice, just because, like, big one-timers. He's blowing guys up, and he's in scrums all the time. Like, when Perfetti was getting hassled there, it was either him or Wheeler that was just like, leave him the fuck alone. And like, leave him. Don't you dare effing touch him. And I was like, I love that. And like, it just like those two hot, like Wheeler and Dillon, they need to like do a buddy cop show. Like, they're just so funny together because they're just such knobs on the ice. Like, they're just pricks out there, and like, they're willing to fight anyone too. And it's just so funny that Blake Wheeler's like a bit of a goon on this team. Like, he's just like, yeah, I'll fight you. Like, Blake Wheeler will stab a guy if he has the opportunity to. And Breden Dillon's going to beat somebody up too. Like, the two of them just make me smile so much. Like, if I could give like a captaincy to 2 players, like, it's like, you guys have to share the C, so we're cutting it in half. And it's like, Wheeler's got like the moon pattern, and then Dillon's got like the back half of the C. I promise this makes sense in my head. And if you're listening at this point, well, thank you. Because yeah, this is lunacy. But yeah, no, like, Wheeler and Dillon just make me so happy. And it's like, and that's what you want to see. Basically, 2 guys that are just like the protectors, and guys that are so confident at what they do too. Like, the fact that Dillon is taking great shots on a regular basis, and he could pick up a few more points, let's be honest. But the fact that he's out there protecting some of the smaller guys, he's looking out for everyone. Breden, and he's just like in scrums, and he's just like not letting any team take advantage of anyone on the Jets team. Like, it's like Breden Dillon's an absolute stud, and I'm just very excited that he is a Winnipeg Jet. And if he gets traded, I'm going to be very disappointed, like heartbroken almost, because he's been like, yeah, like I said, he's been good. Let's also, I do want to say, don't hate on David Rittich. He's been good. He's been fine. People mediocre, whatever you want to say about David Rittich. I like him. Just trying to make sure that I read everything because I wrote a whole list of things to talk about, Fight for first in the division. Is it worth it? I'm going to say no. Just be content by taking second or third. Don't be a wild card team, but if the Jets can stay in the top three, if they can make sure that St. Louis is behind them in the standings, who has actually kind of started to pick it up a little bit since the Jets send them on that like 6-game losing skid, which I mean, fantastic, right? Like I got a good kick out of St. Louis blowing it as badly as they had. And then, they've been kind of picking it up lately as well. Like St. Louis now is 20 points. They're 3 points back of the Jets. So are the Predators. They're 9-8-2. Predators could still blow it, but they're starting to pick it up. And I mean, like now we're starting to see the downfall of the Minnesota Wild, who are at a 500 record, 5 points back of the Jets. Ooh. And like that's who we play next too. Like if the Jets can defeat the Minnesota Wild, that's 7 points back of the Jets. That kind of just like locks things up for the Jets, like just being like, okay, we're not one of the worst teams. And then it's just like, you just have to stay better than the Blues and the Predators. Like, I know it's not just like you just have to do it, but if the Jets can show up like they've been doing on a regular basis, and really the Jets are tied with they've played 17 games. The only other two teams in the Central that have done that are the Avalanche and the Coyotes. Everyone else is at 18 plus. So the Jets could still they could be at 27 points hypothetically if they had played the same number of games as the Stars. So Jets can really get into it. And like I said, they need to go 500 through this long stretch of hockey. 30 games in 70 days. It's a long stretch. So you just have to be good through this. And if you can get through this, like I said, a 500 record, if you could get through it at a 550 record, there's going to be nothing to worry about, like at all. So like, I'm not freaking out about the Jets. And like the top three teams in the Central Division all have a goal differential positive. The St. Louis Blues -6, Preds -9, Wild -5. We don't care about the Arizona Coyotes or the Blackhawks. They're terrible. It's incredibly funny how terrible they've been. But St. Louis is 7-3 in their last 10. They've won 7 in a row. So the St. Louis Blues are a streaky team. Streaky teams don't go far into the playoffs. Streaky teams, like when they do make the playoffs, is like, ooh, you might win a round if you're lucky. You might even get 2 rounds. But St. Louis win some, you lose some, and they're currently winning some. Not as much as the New Jersey Devils. My goodness, 13 straight wins. Absolutely bonkers. 13 straight. They've looked good, but yeah, I do want to talk about the Jets' identity though. Like, before the game against the Canes, I said that the Jets, if the Jets can beat the Canes, we'll know that they're a legitimate team because, well, the Canes are a pretty well-rounded team. Well, they beat the Jets. They beat the Canes. The Jets beat the Canes, but we still almost blew it with almost 5 minutes left. I was like, I don't know if this team's legit because they've won in so many different ways that it's like, whatever. And maybe you're just trying to give Paul Stastny a point to give him a better shot to make the playoffs because you like Paul Stastny. Even if you don't like what he did last year, you like Paul Stastny. He's a good dude. I believe in him. But if you almost blow it with 5 minutes left and you leave David Rittich hanging like that, I don't know if I should be like, it's a whatever and you still got the points. So don't worry about it. Just keep worrying about picking up the wins at the end of the day, which the Jets have done a lot. They've hammered teams. They've come back and won. They've held on to victories. They've been a roller coaster of a team. No 2 Jets wins have been similar this year. So are the Jets real? Are they fake? Like, we're still 6 weeks? We're about 6 weeks into this season, almost a quarter of the way there. Almost quarter. We're like 20% of the way through the season, give or take. It's like, is this team for real, or are they like not? I don't know. She's like you almost blow it against one of the best teams, but you also made one of the best teams look like absolute fools out there for 55 minutes. The Jets owned the Canes, but they couldn't do it. They almost blew it, and it's like David Rittich had to make a big save for 12 seconds left, and it's like it's fantastic that you've got a Norris Trophy, a Norris Trophy candidate in Josh Morrissey. Like we can all say that comfortably this early on. I'm going to say it comfortably. He's going to be a finalist. You've got Mark Scheifele, who's looking good. Kyle Connor's going to figure it out soon. He's going to really be doing his thing, but like this team isn't at 100%. Like it's weird to say, but this team hasn't played at like that top tier level. It feels like they're only playing at like 75% right now. And it's like, it feels like this team has another gear, but they don't know how to find it. Like they've lost Nikolaj Ehlers, so they're just like 75%. And I mean, like everyone's trying and everyone's working their ass off. Don't get me wrong. It's not like they're just like, la, 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 whatever. We don't care about hockey. Like these guys care a lot about winning. And yet they just look like they're not giving everything they got. Which is kind of annoying because it's like, I would like for you guys to look like you're at 100%. So I don't know. That's like, I've said it every week. It's like, oh, we'll know if the Jets are a for real team next week after they play these next 3 to 5 games, which is kind of where I'm at right now. It's like looking at the week ahead for the Winnipeg Jets. It's if the Jets can basically pull off this mini road trip, because we've got 4 division rivals in the net. Like those are our next 4 games. So we got the Wild, who should be fairly, like they're not going to be an easy team to beat, but they're a 500 team. The Jets should beat them. Marc-Andre Fleury's not playing up to snuff. Yeah, it just like you're watching the Minnesota Wild go into cap hell. So, enjoy them while they last. We got the Stars, who obviously are on top of the Central Division. If the Jets can pull off a win there, like that's going to be our next big marker game, is like, okay, are the Jets real or are they not real? Because they've made the Stars look real silly. They've been made to look real silly by the Stars. So if the Jets can, I really hope that's going to be an aggressive game, that we get to go into like a 1-1 overtime. And then it goes into like 6 rounds of the shootout where it's just like, holy nail biter hockey. That'd be pretty ideal for Friday night. And then Sunday, we got the Blackhawks. Again, should beat. And then we've got the Avalanche next Tuesday. So like, I know I've gone a little bit further into gone a little ahead. But that's okay. But if the Jets basically, they can win 3 out of those 4 games, they're doing good. Now, if they lose to one of the loser teams and beat both the Avalanche and the Stars, that's really like what you want. Like you want to see the easy victories won. And who was I listening to talk to about it? But basically, the whole logic was beat the team. Like it was a soccer manager or soccer coach or something. I don't know how soccer works. I don't follow it a lot, and I should, especially with the World Cup going on. But I'm also kind of pissed about the slave labor thing. But you can't talk about that for too long, because then it's like you kind of forget that at the end of the day, it's just sports, right? And that governments need to deal with their stuff. But either way, before I get too wrapped up in all of that, basically what you need to do is just beat the teams that are worse than you. And as long as you're like a top 5 team in the league, you can beat every team that's worse than you. But you really only have to worry about losing like what? 12 to 25 games. And if the Jets can go on like a 60, I don't know, if they can go 60-20-2, like that'll be all right. maybe 57, 23-2. The Jets will be fine. So yeah, just beat the teams that are worse than you. And if you can't beat the Stars and the Avalanche, well, as long as you can beat them in the playoffs, that's all that matters at the end of the day. Really, at the end of the year, that's all that matters. So just beat the bad teams. Let's start with that. And like I said, go 500 through this big stretch of playing every other night. If the Jets can get to Christmas playing every other night, they'll be fine. Because like they get from the, oh man, even during Christmas, it's like a lot of back-to-back hockey. Oh boy. It's going to be a long couple of months. Yeah, go 500, Winnipeg Jets. Go 500. You're probably going to be a playoff team. And basically, that's how we're going to ride this out. The next bunch of games. Okay, quickly, 90s night. Love it. It's a solid move from the organization. Maybe give us early 2000s night next year as well. I'd like to be singing some Nickelback. The reverse retro night I went to for was it the Chicago game? Was they'd played a Pearl Jam song, which was written and recorded in 2010 off their Fixer album. I feel like I'm one of like 35 people in the arena who noticed that, and like I'm the only one who's mentioned it. So that's going to be my one qualm with the Winnipeg Jets. But 90s nights, so much fun. Love what they're doing with those. My old man is like, yeah, those are beautiful jerseys. Still could use some red. I don't know why people don't want the red. I want the red, damn it. But they're still gorgeous jerseys. I love them. It was cool having the lead singer of the Watchmen do "Oh Canada." My partner was like, yeah, he's one of the better ones to do it this year. I like him a whole lot. The Ukrainian night having the Ukrainian men's choir sing, gorgeous too. I like the fact that the Jets are having all these guest singers from throughout the city and the province. Like, I have no issue with that. Like, can we see more of that? Because let's show off the talent of this province. I'm sure that helps the singing community get more in touch with the hockey community, which are really just two realms that would never really intersect. But yeah, give us like Nickelback night. Invite Nickelback to Canada Life Center. I don't know why people hated Nickelback. They have so many bangers. And if you're going to tell me, no, they don't, next time you go to a social, just play a Nickelback song. Just tell me how the people react. Because I bet you, like, play Burn It to the Ground. People are going to freak out. They're going to have a great time. Nickelback is good. I want Nickelback night. Yeah. Jets, like, look good. They got a Norris candidate. Misimont scored. Fantastic. And I mean, just a good lunch pail guy. I mean, he worked his butt off through the AHL, earned a spot there, and now he's got a shot with the Jets. Maybe use him as trade bait later down the season. I think that's probably one of the things that you're going to use, or one of the guys that you will use for trade bait. Not because we hate him, but because he's worked hard and he's deserved it, and he deserves a chance on a team where he's going to play a lot. So if he can trade him off to an Arizona, if they have somebody that's worthwhile bringing in, not Zach Kassian. Don't bring in Zach Kassian. I like Kassian, but he's not a guy that's going to play well on this team. We have enough guys that are just big body guys. We need talent on that top. If you're going to trade for talent on the top line. That's what the Jets really need. That's all I really got to say for this week. Thanks for tuning in. Have yourself a fantastic week. I'm going to try to get another guest on within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So stay around for that. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you give us a rating on Spotify. That really helps us out too. Like and review this. If you don't like the podcast, well, continue to review it. I will read those reviews. I will read your questions. Just let us know what we're doing, how we're doing, and what we can do better. And have a great week. Peace and grace, friends. Be good and do good. And I'll talk to you again soon.